If the ego is us playing out a distorted representation of who we think we are, then so are our actions and reactions. Through our perception, the world is on its head in a way because we're looking from the outside trying to gain understanding and knowledge when understanding and knowledge comes from the inside out. Our world is inner and we are seeing the world from our inner perception. But our inner perception is distorted because we think the outside world is acting on us. So in turn, our actions and our reactions are also distorted. Because we are not aware of our oneness, that is us connected from our inner being, right? We perceive ourselves as outside and separate from one another. So then we understand each other as separate that have no connection to one another. When we attack each other, we don't see each other as attacking ourselves as well, right? But that's what we're doing every time we react and understand in aggressive ways, in ways that are vicious, in ways that put forth more anger and conflict and violence. So through conflict, when we see that something in our world is attacking us, our initial reaction is to react violently or react in an aggressive way, in a violent way. And the violence starts within the mind, right? Our ideas are powerful. Our ideas have validity in it, in itself. You know, it's not separate from what's being fleshed out. What's being fleshed out is our ideas in physical form, but our ideas have life of itself as we think of them. So our reactions and violence start with our thought. But this thought is a warped understanding of how we should be acting within ourselves, right? Because we are not connected to that one, it's not connected to the love of ourself and of our collective self. That action, that reaction, that violence is that action or that energy that bubbles up inside that we want to let out in violence is a misconception. It's a distortion of an action, of a natural energy that's flowing through the body. And that energy is distorted because we're so rooted in fear. We're so rooted in the negative, right? Our belief system is so rooted in that we condition ourselves to go straight to that train of thought. But to free ourselves from that train of thought, right, we have to condition ourselves in a different way to go against it, right? To go against towards what is real, which is letting go of that negativity, letting go of that distorted point of view to gain some clarity, right? So in order to change this, in order to heal from this distortion, you have to look at it head on in every situation that we take on, every conflict that we're in, every situation that we take on with one another. You know, we're told that our only two reactions is to fight or flight, right? But that's in the unconscious mind, that's in the unconscious self. But when you're conscious of your actions, when you're conscious of conflict that's right in front of you, you understand that all conflict is inner conflict. It's not conflict with the outside world. So when we want to change our tendencies, when we want to change that distorted perception of our actions and our reactions, we look to the self first. No matter what it seems like to be coming towards you, you have to look in yourself first and say, there must be some conflict within me, you know, that I need to change in order to feel better about anything that's going on in my life. Some painful energy that I happen to be holding on to is being triggered by this encounter, causing me to perceive falsely. The outer world is not against me. It has no power over me. But somehow I feel angry. I feel like I want to fight. I feel powerless. And I feel the need to gain power through violence. And so what is that? What is that thing that's triggering some sort of pain within me? What is going on with me that's making me feel some sort of violent tendencies or wanting me to suffer? And when we look at the conflict within ourselves, a lot of times there's just some sort of unforgiveness, right? There's some sort of resentment that we're holding on to. Because we identify with our physical form, we hold on to the trauma and the lessons, the negative lessons that we learn from them, right? The pain that we learn from them, and we hold on to that pain as part of our identity. And we react out of that pain. As we come into the self and grow into the self, we stop identifying with our corporeal form, right? Not saying that it's not real, right? We are the soul and flesh at this point, but we are not the flesh, you know, we are the soul. So as we start to come to ourselves, we start identifying with our immortal self. I am no longer my body, but at this point within eternity, I have a body. You know what I'm saying? So when we understand our immortal nature and understand the power that we possess to create our world within our immortal nature, nothing outside of us, no person outside of us can bring us harm, right? No person outside of us causes us to suffer. It is our beliefs about every situation in our life that cause us to suffer, that cause us pain, that cause violence towards somebody else, right? Or the need to react in violence, right? So instead of reacting in violence, there's other ways to understand this energy that's flowing through my body. And it's not about suppression, right? It's not about if anger is bubbling up inside of you, it's not about you suppressing it and saying that there's nothing inside of me. That energy is there, right? But there's other ways to go about expressing that energy. The ego interprets it as anger and violence, right? But what it actually is energy and that need to act, right? So you act in different ways. You breathe, you scream, you do some sort of physical movement, you cry, right? Or whatever other creative outlet you have. But that's just to release that initial energy. Then the next part of working through that conflict is understanding what's actually going on, right? Not taking what's the situation that played out for face value, because it's never face value. It's always something internal. It's always some sort of internal conflict. And when it's somebody projecting something onto you, as you understand your immortal nature, as you understand the nature of self and other selves, you understand that that's not your issue, right? So you can let that go without anger because you know that's somebody else's issue that they're dealing with. And as you work it out like that, you can extend yourself in love to that person, right? So they can get some clarity on the situation. But if it doesn't work out that way, then you let it go. You let that situation go and let them deal with their journey, right? It's not about correction because we're not the ones to correct. That saying, you're looking at the speck in somebody else's eye when you got a plank in your own eye. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with our own issues. So you're going to let that person deal with their issues if they're not willing to work it out with you. You know what I'm saying? But you let that go in love. Like you let them be who they are. Let them work it out the way they're working it out. And the Holy Spirit, that helper energy is the one that is in, that corrects. We don't correct each other. We forgive each other and we let each other be. And this is because we're all in a state of healing, right? We haven't understood ourselves. We're not in full understanding of ourselves yet. We're coming into that understanding. We're all in different stages of healing, being corrected, being helped by that helper energy, by the Holy Spirit.